fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got with the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to him!
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, here we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Yeah, so we're using the VRS Direct Force Pro this year. We have a wheel adapter right here, so I'm using the rim I used last year. But the motor right here produces a lot of power, a lot of precision, and it helps me, just feel the car more, feel the car a lot quicker. Especially, this week we're at Sonoma. I can feel it, when it hits the curbs. Any little change in the car, the wheel reacts a lot quicker than your typical gear-driven or belt-driven wheel. For example, if you're on oval and the rear tires break loose, force feedback on it corrects a lot quicker than your typical wheels. There's no resistance pretty much as far as being able to make quick corrections on the wheel. So all that, paired with how precise the wheel itself is, it makes it to where it helps you as a driver, to find that extra hundredth or thousandths of a second. So when you're getting a direct drive wheel, especially the VRS wheel, it's heavy duty. It's got good weight to it, it's not a plastic toy. It feels like you can really beat up on it. A lot of people have issues with their plastic gear-driven wheels just kind of breaking after a couple years. This thing just feels like it can go forever. The forces are really strong where if you might have to let go of the wheel if you get into the wall. You can adjust all that with the settings on it and stuff, but the wheel itself doesn't play around. It's got way more strength than you could ever need, and that's what makes it good, that you can adjust that down to whatever the car needs. So initially you'll be able to get the controller box and the motor together, and eventually you will be able to add a rim onto that option. They'll also be including a button plate on it to put on the rim to have all sorts of different buttons and functionality. Also, pedals are coming, so that's a pretty big deal as well. Hasn't been covered too much, but the goal is to also have pedals to go along with the Direct Force Pro. So that's pretty exciting. The wheel feels good. It feels very much like a real world steering wheel. You just kind of feel like what you would imagine the car to feel like. A real steering wheel in a car is very smooth, it's very direct, very quick, and that's what this wheel feels like.
The Temple of Speed. A place which, for many, holds a very near and dear place in racing folklore. It's one of the few tracks out there in the world which prioritizes top speed over anything else. And what you definitely say is that it still holds that weight and legacy that it did once upon a time in its original inception over 70 years ago. It's the outskirts of Milan for us today. It is Monza. It is your iRacing Grand Prix Series, round 8 of the championship, and we're here to bring you all of the coverage here at this moment in time. My name's Jake Sperry. Joined alongside me for the ride today is Mr. Jay Kennedy, as we are just on the start of qualifying at this moment in time. Jay, a pleasure to have you along, of course, for the ride, but really this is what we said, a 2.5 horse race off camera coming into this one. There is our track that you can see, the Autodromo Nazionale in Monza, a 5.8 kilometer there or thereabouts, 3.6 mile fantastic ride through the Italian countryside, but really a championship about the championship leader Jorge Martinez, Matt Wood in second, and in third, Thomas Bartosic.
It's still well and truly a close championship, isn't it? It's still up for grabs. We're still a long way away from deciding who will take the crown. And the fact that every race is seeing different winners as well is adding to the spice of this championship. Looking forward to seeing how this race plays out here at this beautiful Monza circuit. Of course, very, very simple on paper, but difficult to actually get yourself around a lap. And as you said before, speed is the key, the Temple of Speed. It's not called that or nicknamed that for any reason other than it is all about top speed. The slowest corner on the track at any other circuit is a medium speed corner. So making sure that you've got enough speed and a good enough run down the straights, making sure that you can draft well enough, and using the DRS to your advantage at this track is so huge.
It absolutely is. If you haven't had the chance to already, though, here, ladies and gentlemen, you can like, share, and subscribe here at SimSpeed TV for more amazing content brought to you by us here as we get ourselves into the first legitimate lap times. Marquez goes fastest on a 120.488 then to kick things off on these initial laps, as we can see drivers now trying to work their way around this fantastic circuit. Adam Gleeson currently in P number 2, and in P3 right now is Darren Parker, at least for the moment, because jumping up there into second, we just see on the times Diogo Oliveira, Matt Wood in third, and we talk about fine margins here at Monza. It's 600ths that split the top 3 as we keep an eye on Anthony Catt, curiously, on the mediums.
Yeah, strategy is going to be interesting here with the soft and medium usage or tyre choice. Most drivers are going to go soft, but we may see someone do a little bit of a sneaky medium no-stop strategy, which is an interesting thought. We haven't seen it too much, but it is a viable strategy in this race this week.
5 drivers on the mediums: Valentin Milanovici, Kent Nielsen, Anthony Catt, Adam Webb, and Steve Codner, all deciding for the mediums. Here's Duncan Lee looking to make a drive towards the line, and it's a 24.5 then from Duncan Lee. It is a bumper stack field here today as well, noting 2 splits today with 25 and 24. On board with the number 1, Matt Wood, highest iRacing in the field, as he makes that charge to the fabled Parabolica corner here. This very, very fast right-hander. You've got to be so committed and hope that you've got something underneath the car as you charge. Marquez has gone ever so slightly quicker, but is usurped by Oliveira, who is usurped by Matt Wood. 1:23.07, 300th, says he's got pole at the moment.
Absolutely nothing between those top 3, is there? 700ths of a second separating the top 3, and to see such a fine margin between all of those guys just adds some extra excitement to this race. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this plays out. It's going to be so tight once we get into racing, and making sure they all get through turn 1 is going to be a lot harder than you think. Looking at those medium runners, what they're about 1.2 seconds off the pace at best, so the pace difference between the soft and the medium is quite large, but that'll come to them with the medium length pit lane, relatively slow pit lane as well. It's going to mean that those times will even out throughout this run. This is going to be a very, very interesting strategic race.
Yeah, so that strategy is going to come into play. We just saw Jin Se-yuk move up to 8th place. Morgan Sohm crosses the line. That is not a representative lap time there, as Reynaldo Augusto out there on track is on a second lap. 1:20.9 then for the F1 Apps car on the original attempt, but the second attempt that they are allowed is going to be very much important to keep an eye on that time. Will there be a shade of improvement? There was, and it's enough for a position. Reynaldo Augusto jumps Adam Gleeson. A 1:20.797 is good enough for 5th place at this point in time. Couple drivers out there at the moment. Adam Webb on the mediums is going to be very interesting to keep in mind. Invalidated the first lap and is looking for a second to get somewhere up onto the board, and it's a 21.5. That's a really good time. In fact, it is the best of the medium runners. They're in 12th place.
Yeah, very, very good lap on the medium compound tyre. So well done there from him. And Stratinsky crosses the line at 21.6 for him. So not a bad lap time. Duncan Lee will come back around. He's already on his 3rd lap. And the only driver yet to complete both laps, I believe, is John Pat Kelly.
Yep, new livery there for John Pat Kelly as well, making that charge through.
And that one?
It absolutely did, going through the Parabolica. It's not often that you see John Pat Kelly change teams. He's gone to the SRT team, and this will be a dive into the pits, a 29 flat only then, the representative time. In terms of drivers on track, they are all out of laps. So qualifying is scored complete then here at Monza, and we will be able to take ourselves over towards the starting grid of this 25 car field here today, trying to work out where everyone is going to potentially be for this amazing challenge. And it's pole position, as we have seen so many times before, for Matt Wood here, and he has done a wonderful job with a 1:20.308. Diogo Oliveira is alongside for the ride on the front row of the grid. Jorge Martinez is the championship leader, but only by a slender margin of 20 points. He is there in third place, with Darren Parker fourth and Reynaldo Augusto in P number 5. Adam Gleeson will line up then in 6th position on a 1:20.8, with Kleber Toffoli 7th, and the South Korean Jin Se-yuk there in 8th place. Morgan Sohm lines up 9th, with Klaus Siemens there in 10th place, Christoph Montz in 11th, and Adam Webb, first of the medium runners, in 12th position. Jan Stratinsky lines up 13th, with Anthony Katt in 14th, Kent Nielsen 15th, along with Carlos Catau in 16th position. Then it's Tamas Shene and Anton Skirichenko then in 18th position, with Jonathan Osholin and Anish Mehta, an all-American 10th row of the grid. Valentin Milanovici is 21st, with Steve Codner 22nd. Then it's Duncan Lee and John Pat Kelly. And the final driver who didn't set a time on the grid was the 18 machine of Chris Robinson. I have noted that Adam Webb has gone to the white-walled hard compound tyre here in terms of setting things up. So keep that in mind in the race, that all 3 tyre compounds are going to be getting some form of use here today. So that is going to be worth it. 2 minutes to grid up, or they start from that place known as pit lane. And because it is Monza, we have to talk about the run to turn number 1 and how often you get that bottleneck and a big accident. Last time that we were here and keeping an eye out on a race here at Monza, we had 7 cars in trouble in turn 1 and 2, the Retafilo chicane alone. So that might be somewhere we could be seeing a whole heap of troubles. 35 laps. By distance, it's long. By time, this will be one of the shortest races that we will have on the calendar. Keep your eyes peeled. Keep yourselves ready, because this is a truly special race that we are going to be looking at right now. Everybody is pretty much set on the grid. All drivers are there and present. There's the green. There's the go. 35 laps underway. Shocker of a start from the second row of the grid. Darren Parker went nowhere off of the get-go and is immediately contacting the middle of the pack. They're almost 4 wide. They lunge in towards turn number 1 as they go through. Matt Wood's got control of things then as they fly on into this section, but somehow, some way, they're almost all getting through. There's a bottleneck in the middle, and it looks like about half a dozen cars have been caught up there. You can see one of the faux Red Bulls there in trouble. Milanovici in trouble, turned around as well. So 2 drivers already caught up then in the early proceedings of this race.
A little bit of a crazy start in that mid-pack, but the front was very, very clean. But from about 7th, 8th on back, you said Darren Parker got a horrible start, and everyone behind him that got through before the braking zone was okay, but everyone behind there was in big, big trouble. But we have made it through. Is there some car slow? Yeah, that's Morgan Sohn. Was a little bit slow on the run up towards the Ascari chicane.
It was more Adam Webb.
Oh, Adam Webb, yeah, it was. And Matt Wood also slow. I think he's had a slow down penalty as well.
Oh, Adam. And you get more. It was straight on from Matt Wood, sorry. So he saw Adam Webb's issue. Matt Wood had a huge moment going through Ascari and gave Oliveira the lead, and actually had to check up there the driver in second position. That was Jorge Martinez, which allowed Adam Gleeson to fight for it, and is still fighting for it right now on the front stretch here, going for it. Behind him, fourth position, Reynaldo Augusto in the mix then, and on the brakes they go. What tenacity! Contact there as they go through the corner. The SRT cars looking good. Gleeson now into second position.
And there's been a big, big incident back behind.
Wow.
Oh, this is what we were thinking we would see on lap 1, but we've seen it on lap 2. And big names involved in this. We've got Adam Webb, Matt Wood, Klaus Siemens, all involved in this. We need another look at that one.
Oh, it looks to me like it's between Siemens and Webb where the contact has gone through. And it's a very, very awkward place here on the Virtual Racing Score replay. You can see they get through the first part okay, but door gets shut by Klaus Siemens. He did not have enough overlap And then when everybody's spread eagle across the circuit, there's nowhere to go, and it's like lemons off a cliff. They'll just drive into each other, and they've got nowhere to go. Let's take another look at this one then with Adam Webb. You can see heading towards Parabolica is the place. That's Matt Wood's issue. He just gets a wiggle on the entry there into Ascari, and he has to slide on through. And then the big issue for Matt comes along next, and that is he's got to try and serve that slow down penalty. And you've got no reference time. It's the slowest you will ever get.
He gave up about 7 or 8 spots on the front straight on that first lap, so he'll be very, very heartbroken about that because he had such a good start and was away to a decent margin. But one little issue caused all sorts of dramas. Is side by side down the front straight. This is Christoph Motz.
Oh!
Stratinsky.
Parker with a huge moment, and lucky there was some netcode to save Jin Se-Yuk there in that one. So Se-Yuk will take a slow down penalty then for cutting across the grass, which is a little bit unfortunate, but that's the way it goes. But now Soam, Toffoli and Parker all along with each other. A big moment for Parker.
Race is a little bit crazy. I think the drivers have decided that they're going all out here and going to try and win the race early on in this first phase, but I'm surprised that this has been as messy as it has, other than on the first lap. We saw a clean first lap and a messy everything since. It's not normally the way we see races at Monza, but we'll see how it plays out now because DRS is now active as well, so that'll maybe stretch this little group out a little bit more, and we might see things clean up a little bit. David Toffoli, we'll say David Toffoli's new look looks very, very cool with that mint green on his car. You can see the rear wing was open down that back straight before.
Yeah, certainly can, and you can tell that the After 8 mint car, effectively, that it is at this moment, is chasing down the faux Ferrari of Morgan Soam. DRS activation open because we are past lap 3 here in this race, and this is going to be a track where you get that DRS and a lot of places to go and use it. Not going to get it done in through 1 and 2 at the Rettifilo, but you can see behind Tamashane, no rear wing on the car, cosmetic only. And we'll have Jan Stratinsky for a bit of company, who will definitely be wanting to try and attack and gain that place. But the number 17 has lost the place outright, or wants to try and get back into the 11th position, charging on forward, and no dice, at least for the moment. Second, though, we will go to at the moment, because Jorge Martinez settling down into a rhythm with Adam Gleeson firmly in the markers.
If it does, of course, we'll be getting DRS as well, so we're starting to close that gap in. Close up even closer. Got a little bit of a weird gear change there. But flicked it to 7th and decided, no, I don't want 7th, I want back to 6th. It would cost him probably a 10th of a second just with that bizarre gear change there for Martinez, but Martinez has been one of the front runners throughout this season so far, and last season as well, so he's doing a very, very good job. Get the DRS, you can see the green lights on the dash. Now all 4 lit up, that means DRS is open and activated. And we will start closing in, but not quite close enough to get the move done yet.
Yes, is the word. They've got a bit of traffic in front as well. That's Carlos Catao just in front. So keep an eye on that one then as they go on through and look to try and figure out their battle to the Della Roggia. But ultimately, going through, Catao gives a nice bit of toe there for Adam Gleeson. He's got everything covered off then as they go through, and a big missed apex from Martinez, just making sure he wasn't making contact with the traffic moving on for that place. Some great scraps up and down the order then as they go through, and they go all the way back to 17th and 18th, for example, on top of that as well, because you've got the likes of Chris Robinson and co scrapping out for place. There you can see it on screen in 4th position there. That is Reynaldo Augusto trying to give chase to the battle for 3rd and 2nd position. Not bad of a drive so far from Reynaldo. He's in car number 14 at the moment, and there is the battle continuing between Morgan Soam and, of course, Kleber Toffoli. But Toffoli still not quite in a position. There will be a change of place, though, a little bit further down as Codner lets through Matt Wood.
Yeah, Matt Wood's starting to slowly get those positions back, so he's slowly starting to gain some spots. So slowly, because he's a long way back from where he should be in relation to where he started this race and what his actual pace setting pace should off-putting because remember he started on pole, now back in 13th position, still got a lot of work to do. He's finally through, Claver Toffoli gets that spot. Finally.
Yeah, and just in front of the battle that we have seen just before that, John Pat Kelly gets by Tamashane now and moves up into 11th position. What a run John's having. Just avoided every single thing going on and is up 13 places. Oh, Soames off.
Yeah, and Toffoli's lost his front wing.
So Soames was trying to make the move, and the big key for Morgan here is how was it all gone wrong? And well, there's nothing wrong that Claver can do. You're going to see it right now here on screen. Here's Morgan Soames trying to make the move and trying to figure out where he can get the pass done. Up at the Della Roggia, on the brakes, through the left. He just lost the back end all on his own. And then there's nothing that Claver Toffoli can do. He was a passenger.
100%. Yeah, we've got a little bit of a fright seeing that too. Set from the onboard. This is onboard Toffoli, see around the outside. And absolutely nothing you could do.
Nothing in the slightest, so that makes things a little bit more awkward in the mid-pack of the field. There is Martinez in third. The gap to the leader now, Diogo Oliveira, is up to 3.6 seconds, took 3/10 out of Adam Gleeson on that last lap, so a very telling margin. Matt Wood was immediately now going for another move. This time it's on Tamashane. We don't have a picture of that right now, but at least for the moment, that move has just been pass score completed and was expected to be easy. Wood back inside the top 10 then with that move and a comfortable move on top of that. Morgan Soames and Claver Toffoli now back in the pit, so their damage will have to be repaired at this moment in time, and it will be a long road for them as they go on forward through this race. So it's about this time that we start settling down into a rhythm. Oliveira has the fastest lap then in this field right now, but knows that he can't afford to sit by and wait for anybody. This is the sort of race you've just got to go out and continue to race aggressively.
100%. It's got to be ultra aggressive, and while he's got the pace and got the advantage of no one around him, use that, keep pushing on, and has done that just another 3/10 quicker than Adam Gleeson behind. Gleeson's losing a bit of ground to Martinez, who's back with DRS open again. So remember, he lost that ground when he was passing that lap down car before. Now gained all of that ground that he lost back, and he's starting to close that gap back down again. Martinez will be wanting to get this done before we get into pit stops. As we said before, we're looking at a soft strategy. So most are going to pit around lap 17, lap 18, lap 19. But we could see some pit as early as lap 14 or 15.
Well, it would make sense in a race like this to split your strategy half and half. So a 18 or 17 is going to be interesting. There's Jan Stratinsky in a battle right now. That's Steve Codner making the pass on the yellow-walled mediums. He is the best placed driver at the moment in this field, aside from Kent Nielsen on the medium. So we'll keep an eye on Kent here for this one. He's 17 seconds adrift right now in this race. He is chasing around with a bit of lap traffic to Jinsei Yuk, but we focus on the battle second and third once again. Adam Gleeson, who has just been very quietly running in that second place. Martinez has been shadowing him every single stage of the way, but knows that when you've got your main rival in the championship way down the order, like is right now in 10th place, now is the perfect time to start going out there, getting as many points as you can on the board.
100% right. You've got to try and capitalise on other people's misfortunes. That's almost as important sometimes as having good races yourself. You've got to capitalise when your opponents are having a bad one. They're the chances that you've got to take and take even extra risks and try and take even more points from what you normally would. So, I mean, Martinez is now in an advantage where he's got a free spot in that he's ahead of Matt Wood. So Matt Wood should have been ahead of him, so that would have been points in the favour of Matt Wood. Martinez now has to capitalise on that and try and get even more points than what he normally would have got. So now he's really got to push hard, try and get the spot on Gleeson, and maybe in the second phase of the race we might see him close up on Oliveira. Last lap by, identical lap times for Oliveira and Martinez, both did a 22.72.
Yeah, and the difference was 0.03 of a second, and now you're starting to see the wash going through Ascari, that dirty air effect, especially when they have the low downforce settings on the car, become even more apparent because you've got no grip to turn in through the corners. So that's what they're trying to get, as much top speed as they possibly can to mitigate the use of the drag reduction system, the DRS. And for Jorge Martinez, he is stuck at 23 flat speed, half a second back on this front stretch. The Mag Performance car is not going to be close enough here into the first chicane, and it is a very, very telling run at the very highest in terms of speed, 339 for Jorge Martinez in the draft. It was 329 for Adam Gleeson, so you can tell 10Ks on the straight, it's not going to do a whole big amount of denting around this place.
No, but the next DRS zone, the one coming up here out of Lesmo 2, is the longer of the two DRS zones. So you may be able to get something done and close that gap up into Ascari, keep that gap close through Parabolica and get it done next lap. So we'll see DRS opens there. When he opens the DRS, it's at 0.6 of a second. We'll see what it is when they get into the braking zone. No, it's still only half a second, so not quite enough there. We'll see if he can get closer through Parabolica. Parabolica exit is probably the most crucial part of the lap right now for Jorge Martinez, because he needs to get that gap closer and be able to use that DRS to get this done. He really wants to get this done before pit stops come into play. If he doesn't, I think the race is out of his hands from that point. If he can get the move done before we get into pit stops, it's well and truly still open.
Very much could be open, and the chance once again, I think, is going to go a begging into one. Closes right up, but not going to be there at this moment. I'd keep an eye here as we take a look at the virtual racing school replay here of an incident that potentially has happened on track. It's the yellow machine of Chris Robinson. Big tank slapper going into the corner, and that is, I am not going to save that in a month of Sundays.
Put his foot on the brake and the car didn't turn at all. It was a bit of a bizarre one, that one. Interesting, that last run in a turn one, that's the fastest speed I've seen from Martinez. He hit 341 kilometers an hour. So the pace is definitely there once he's got that better run out of Parabolica, which he did on that last lap. And this is the closest he's been. He's within a quarter of a second now. If he can maintain that coming into Parabolica and get a good run through Parabolica, he might be close enough to finally get this done. I think we might see it happen.
We very much might. Martinez then on this opposite straight, so to speak, now makes that run to Parabolica corner and will be looking to try and attack the number 3 machine of Adam Gleeson all over the guttering there on the outside of the corner, making this run down the front stretch. The DRS in full play, and now here will come the attempt. 354 Ks sweeping on by, and up into second position goes Jorge Martinez with a fantastically by the book basic overtake on Adam Gleeson. He had nothing to argue with, and now 5 seconds to chase here to Diogo Oliveira, who traditionally, in comparison to Martinez, is a very heavy tyre user.
Yep, Martinez we've seen being one of the best in conserving of tyre usage, and Oliveira has been one of the ones that's been more aggressive on tyre usage. So this is going to be a very, very interesting battle come the end of this stint. So in the next 5 laps, that could be a big, big factor. We could see Oliveira's pace drop off, Martinez close up. This is going to be the first proper attempt from Jorge Martinez to potentially start to gain some real inroads into this gap between the first and second place cars. Right now, 5.7 seconds. We'll see what it is at the end of the next lap. I'm going to say it'll be back down to the low 5-second bracket. I think there's going to be a good half second taken out of this lead on this next lap.
Well, we definitely will see all over that guttering again on the outskirts of Parabolica. Remember when they put an anti-cut curb there on the outside, and that didn't end up as the best opportunity. I hate to break the bubble, but Martinez actually lost some time. He lost 0.2 of a second. Now, here's a very interesting... Oh, spinner at turn 1. It's Adam Webb, who's gone around from a lap down right in front of that second and third place battle there, and it's been a horrid run, and that is the retirement, I believe, of Adam Webb as they went on through. So We'll catch this on the Virtual Racing School replay then and see where it goes wrong. Into turn number 1, of course, is where it happens. It might be a case of just locking up there the rear, or is it just a case of what I thought it was, getting out on that AstroTurf and maybe a pinch of grass?
Yeah, it wasn't the most, if that was what happened, but yeah, it was enough to cause the car to react. And Marquez and Gleason did have to check up a little bit. They lost around about a quarter of a second through that section alone. Both of them did, so that they just had to be a little bit cautious to make sure that the car wasn't going to roll back out on the track in front of them and had time to react. But Marquez and Gleason, they're not making the inroads I thought that Marquez may have been able to make. See if that does change in the next little while. Oliveira 22.8 on that lap there, and this lap will be in the mid-23s for Marquez. So yeah, he lost a fair bit of ground there.
Oh, and here comes Gleason. He was trying to angle it up. Was up at 344. Couldn't quite get the move done. We have noted as well that Matt Wood has got past John Pat Kelly. That was a battle of Hungaroring, so to speak, which will be coming soon to the iRacing service. Yes, we do plug things here at SimSpeed TV, and it was very, very good in terms of that battle. Now, Jin Se-yuk then, the South Korean driver, very nice South Korean influence has gone into sim racing, especially on South Korean television, which has a massive esports scene at this moment in time. Se-yuk is dealing with Ken Nielsen in the battle for 6th and 7th place. And Nielsen, of course, we have been keeping our eyes out. Here's the first real taker onto the pits then. And it is Jan Stratinsky, lap 14, deciding it's time to pit.
Yeah, I think he might have decided to come in a little bit early and get that front wing repaired, because there was a bit of damage to that front wing. So probably seen, okay, my pit window's open, I might as well come in and get that damage fixed and then get back out there and go again. We go back to Marquez versus Gleason. Marquez starting to pull a little bit of a gap now on Adam Gleason, so that gap's starting to stretch out. The gap between Marquez and Oliveira staying very, very consistent now on that lap there. Only, what, 0.2 of a second separating those two. But Gleason, another 2, nearly 0.3 of a second back.
Yep, it's starting to tell now. You turn the screw just before the pit stop window, and now's the time you try and strike while the iron's hot. Good run as well by Nielsen this time here. Se-yuk is in full defence mode. If he can go back to it, he's moved back to the racing line because he knows he's going to be beaten. Kent Nielsen flying on by. Had to take a bit of evasive action there on the straight. Wasn't all his own way, but the move is scored complete. So Kent Nielsen up into 6th. And remember, he probably might not need to stop this race. Here's some more side-by-side. The damaged Shane overtaken then by Anish Mehta.
And they're not too far behind Steve Kodner as well. So battle for 11th is a 3-car fight. And Tamish Sane did lose that spot, but he isn't that far away from that battle. So we'll see if that continues on in the next little while. To go back to Marquez and Gleason, I think that Marquez's tyres aren't performing as well as I may have expected, and you probably as well, Barry. So I think Marquez might have to make an early call here, come in and then use those softs very, very aggressively early to try and gain that time back. I think Marquez has to try something a little bit out of the box here. He can't just keep pushing on and just lap around. He's losing too much ground.
But, and here's the big but, does he need to? And that's the real question here you've got to ask. He's 7 seconds down on Diego Oliveira. Is he fighting Oliveira for the championship or Matt Wood? If he can't close down Oliveira, he very much takes second place. I'm sure that Marquez would, and he's had an entire season where he's been based on that, as in comes Jin Se-yuk then in the number 5 machine to go and make his stop.
That's a very good point. But the other side to that is, while your opponent's having a bad round, Matt Wood, remember, he started on pole, but was way back in 14th or 15th. Got back to 8th. While your opponent's having a bad round, is that the time then that you try and capitalise and go for the jugular? You try and push extra hard to get more positions and try and really hurt your opponent. I'd say if he's got some sort of opportunity, some semblance of being able to get himself up into P1, whether it's through an alternate strategy or trying something a little bit different. I don't think he's going to be too worried about second because as Gleason comes in, he knows that he's got superior pace to Adam Gleason. Martinez to Oliveira, normally you would say that he's got more pace, but yeah, I think he needs to try and go for it. I think he needs to use this round as an advantage well and truly in his favour and go for it and try and get as many points as he can on Matt Wood in this race.
Well, I believe what we can say at this point is that his hand is forced because of Gleason's pit stop. Montz also into the pit, whereas Gleason he's come out behind John Pat Kelly, but he's got a little bit of place there to go and work with, a bit of fresh air he can start to charge on. So you'd have to say Martinez, if he wants to maintain that position, he'll have to come in now. There is John Pat Kelly, for example, and where he is in this field. This is an important pit stop in terms of the context. Worth noting as well, Montz's pit stop brings him out just behind Sayuk by a couple seconds.
That's correct info on screen as well. John Pat Kelly started in P24 and is now in P7. He's up 17 positions. We don't see that in this series. We don't see big double-digit movers up through the field in the first half of races. But for some reason, the only driver that ever seems to be able to find himself up these sort of positional numbers is this man. Every single week, he finds himself ways to get through fields and avoid incidents and gain positions. It's so bizarre how many positions John Pat Kelly gains each and every race.
I wholeheartedly agree. John Pat Kelly just knows how to navigate a field, and you know, he'd be the sort of person that you trust in the uncharted waters. As into the pits then comes a whole host of drivers. Reynaldo Augusto then deciding to pit the 14 car. In comparison to where Adam Gleason is, he's already gone and away with the fairies. It's worth noting that Martinez did not come in and cover off the stop on that lap. He is running to a number, to a strategy that he feels is the quickest in this race, and he will try and undercut, I'll correct myself, overcut in terms of the strategy right now. Oliveira comfortably out in front, leading this race, about to put a lap on Tamas Shane, the damaged Tamas Shane, who has come in and made a stop as they now hit the brakes into the Parabolica corner. This will cost a tenth or so through this section. The fact that Oliveira does have dirty air to deal with and gets well out of the way. Race leader into the pits.
Martinez continues on.
No, he doesn't.
No, he stops. Caught me off guard because it's such a late braking. You can see how much smoke there was. Tyre smoke there was still wafting away. So Martinez in. Kent Nielsen will continue on. We know that he'll continue on just based on the colour of the wall of those tyres. Mediums means that he is likely to run this entire race on the one set of tyres. Very, very unheard of in this series. But Kent Nielsen, another driver that is very, very good on his tyres, he could potentially be on for a podium here. See where Martinez comes out though with Gleason. They're going to be side by side. Gleason through just based on the undercut.
And there's Morgan Soam, who's not going to make life easy here for Martinez, and lap traffic gets itself involved. So Martinez has really got a lot of work to do because he's now got a car in between. Not exactly what the strategy had ordered in terms of that run. We've also got a battle going on a little bit further back between Christoph Montz and Jin Se-Yuk, both of whom have pitted at this moment. Montz has gone to the outside here, trying to get this one done, but Se-Yuk, so deep on the brakes, has been able to hold it off, at least for the time being.
Great little fight going on here. This is for 8th and 9th position. Will be effective 7th and 8th after everyone comes in for their stop. Very, very cool little battle going on, and two drivers that have improved a lot throughout this season as well. It's been great to watch the progression from different drivers each and every season. These two have been two of the biggest improvers throughout this season as well, which has been great to watch.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with the way that they have been driving the Phoenix car. They're just behind the mock-up Mercedes, trying to get on through in the grass, trying to find the pass there. That's not going to work at that section of track, but wide then at Ascari. It continues then between Sayuk and Mons. Sayuk doing just enough. They start crossing the beams. Which way do you want to go? I want to get in the mirrors. I want to try and angle up that overtake, but Christophe Mons probably has reason to be not too happy with the fact that he was pushing so incredibly hard towards that inside, almost clipping up a bit of grass. Here comes the chance again.
Yeah, and he's well and truly close enough this time, although not gaining as much speed as we've seen others with DRS. So interesting there for Mons that he wasn't able to gain quite as much as we've seen through other drivers in that. I mean, his top speed with DRS was only 330. Think back, we saw Marquez hit over 350 when he was that close in DRS. So it'll be interesting that Mons isn't gaining as much ground in the DRS.
No, it's very, very telling. And of course, they have an automatic energy recovery system in the car. So I'm pretty sure as well that if they decide they want to deploy some of that a little bit more aggressively than what the automatic systems give, then they have that extra speed to go and play with. Again, here comes Mons, though, trying to search on the run to Ascari under the banking of the oval. You can run that in iRacing. He's got his nose to the inside. Sayuk's going to have to fight this one on the inside. And again, Christophe Mons gets shuffled out to the outside in the Phoenix car. Nothing you can do there for Christophe Mons. And again, it's almost a case of he's trying the same thing every single time, and it's not going to pay off if he continues to try that.
He needs to try something else because what he's doing at the moment isn't working. But here's the spot. Look how close he is. And a little bit of a mistake there for Sayuk. So Sayuk did bounce over that curve. Oh, that looked a lot closer than it probably was. Mons now up the inside into turn 1 and 2. And he's just got it done. Just. I had to hold my breath there.
I think they may contact that. Just the ever so slightest of end plate to tyre, and it was enough though that Mons is through. But Sayuk's not giving this one up. He's better in a straight line. He's going to immediately strike back here at the Rogia. Brilliant scrapping here for 8th place. Round the outside, Sayuk holds.
What a move. What a job to get that position back. I'm wondering if the downforce levels on Christophe Mons' car is incorrect, because he's definitely down on straight line speed, isn't he? I mean, straight line speed is everything at this track. But Christophe Mons doesn't look like he's got the car set up for straight line speed. Whew.
And just look who's behind, Matt Wood.
Yeah, and John Pat Cully isn't far away as well. So this is a 4-car battle for 8th position now.
And as we say that, on top of it, Kent Nielsen is being reeled in. The gap 1.2 seconds now to Adam Gleeson. We've got a whole heap of things to watch. Mons again looking for the run. Now Matt Wood's got to be very, very careful in 3rd on that one. Oliveira, fastest lap. Mons again searching for the run. He's going to move to the left-hand side of the circuit. He'll have to go the long way around. Wood is closing in on it. He'll lift out, of course. He wants nothing to do with this one. Deep in goes Sayuk, and there's a bit of contact front to rear. Matt Wood makes contact with Mons.
Lucky for Matt Wood, no damage to the front wing visual anyway. But this battle's getting a little intense, and battle here probably will be a little bit less stressful, so we might get and watch this one while we get our breath back for a second. This is Adam Gleeson about to get this move done on Kent Nielsen. Remember, brand new soft compound tyres versus 20-lap-old medium compound tyres. No competition in this one because Adam Gleeson and Kent Nielsen are on completely polar opposite strategies. This is a lot less stressful.
Call it a Saturday night drive or a Sunday morning in Australia NZ. Their comfortable move, scored and done. Mons not giving up then on Jin Sayuk, who knows he's in a titanic battle right now, and he is searching for a way forward. Parabolica down the inside, beautifully done, but has he given the advantage away on this next straight? Wood is definitely searching for it against Sayuk, and they're now scrapping to get the draft of Christophe Mons. Wood side by side, they're probably going to have to go either side here, try and figure out this overtake here. Wood's got the run down the inside, then he's going to breeze on through. Mons a little bit later on the brakes, but 2 for 1. That is why Matt Wood's in the title fight, because he knows how to make the move.
Yeah, and that just showed as well that Christophe Mons hasn't got the straight line speed because his car topped out with DRS. Jin Se-hyuk without DRS was closing in on him. Something is not right in the way that Monza's car is set up for straight line speed. Se-hyuk back through. Jin Se-hyuk back up into ninth. Christoph Mons now has to defend from John Pat Kelly, who's closing in as well.
And this is what makes a race strategy awkward. Yes, it's great if you are there in the middle of the field and you are doing good and you're on your own, that's fine. Again, Mons looks to go to that outside, trying to search for that place, but again, it's not there. We do need to know, he's trying around the outside still though. Brilliant move by Christoph Mons, but can he hold it is the next question, because the run to the Parabolica comes up. I was going to say that Nielsen and Martinez have exchanged places for third and fourth, but here comes the move again. Se-hyuk down the inside of Parabolica, and there's no arguments there either.
And have a look at what's on the dash of Jin Se-hyuk's car. Green light on means he's got the DRS because he was behind at the checkpoint, so he should be able to pull a little bit of a gap here over Christoph Mons, and that might give him the breathing room. But have a look just behind Christoph Mons. John Pat Kelly is there now to try and bounce on this position.
And remember, front wing change and all, recovery through the field, Kleber to Foley.
Yeah, good job from Toffoli to get back up as far as he has. It's still a 4-car battle because see Matt Wood's checked out. He's already 3.5 seconds clear. That's how much the fighting from Se-hyuk and Mons has lost them. They've lost so much ground just in this back and forth toing and froing that they're doing. Christoph Mons has been able to close back in again. So Mons' car has to be... Okay, we're just hearing Adam Webb's giving us a bit of info. There's a bit of wheel damage. Se-hyuk just hit a bump there and launched the car into the air. Thank you, Adam,
they have to be careful through that depression bump. There's a reason why drivers do move to the inside or the middle of the track there. They want to avoid that small bump that can really unsettle the cars. But Mons through, and Se-hyuk now is in all sorts of trouble because he's completely allowed Christoph Mons a chance to break away. And now he's got John Pat Kelly and Kleber Toffoli for a little bit of trouble. So has to reassess the position here. Does Jin Se-hyuk at this point in time? You can see a second's already gone off the back. And now here comes the run from John Pat Kelly. He checked out of it early, and Toffoli very nearly stole one, but he also had to check out.
The rear wing damage for Christoph Mons is why he's losing, or doesn't have the top speed area. So we'll see if we can get a bit better look at that. We also saw Steve Podner in the pits. Come in, so only 4 drivers left to make their stop, and they are all medium tyre runners. Of course, the top of those being Kent Nielsen.
And Nielsen still there, of course, but is soon to be run down by Ronaldo Augusto here. That gap in and around 5 seconds at this point in time. Augusto's last lap of 22.9 was a 23.5 from Kent Nielsen, so it really does show you at this moment in time that Kent Nielsen still has enough to go out there and do something. Another fastest lap then from Diogo Oliveira, a 1:22 flat on that last run through. But keep an eye on second. The gap was 1.1. It's now under a second here because traffic is not helping Gleeson. It's Valentin Milanovici just in front, who is a little bit in the way of Gleeson's run here.
And he just had a little chance that he could have pulled over and let them go, but didn't do so. And what it has done, it has given a little bit of an advantage, a little bit of a free kick to Adam Gleeson because he's now got DRS to use.
You mean Martinez?
Well, Gleeson got DRS as well down the straight there.
But he has lost the second, and now here comes Martinez.
You are right, he had lost the second because of that. So Martinez now will get this done relatively easy, you would think, with 10 laps to go on the board.
But we saw how it wasn't plain sailing to break away. Adam Gleeson knows that he is on 2-lap older tyres in comparison to Jorge Martinez. Martinez tucked up underneath now is going to go to the reserve banks. He's going to move over at 340 Ks. He's going to get the move sorted here on the inside into one. He is back up into second position. Once again, a very accomplished move and one that he can be very, very happy of, knowing that Matt Wood barring an incident from anyone behind, will go no better than 7th place. And look at this, John Pat Kelly, Jin Se-Yuk and Claver Toffoli pretty much throw a blanket.
Cool little battle going on here as John Pat Kelly just got through. Jin Se-Yuk just lost 2 spots just by running wide. Wowee, that was a little bit crazy going on there. You can see Christoph Wantz has checked out on these guys from the fighting that's going on here in this 3-car battle. John Pat Kelly defending into turn 1 very, very aggressively, right on the white line on the inside.
Oh, and this is going to be close here through 2 at the Retafilo, and Se-Yuk just about holds, and Toffoli just about holds. Toffoli was so early lifting out there with comparison to John Pat Kelly that he completely allowed Jin Se-Yuk back into the battle. No chance of the move being done just yet, but it is all about patience here as this race. Oh no, just as we say that, there goes Claver Toffoli, a trip through the gravel at the Rogia.
Yep. Good news is he didn't hit the wall, and if he did, he hit wheel flush on the side of the tyre. So okay, Toffoli will continue on. Sad news is that ended the battle, but the good news is it's ended the battle, which means we can actually get our breath back, because that's some of the most crazy racing we've seen in this series over the last 6 seasons that we've been watching. Oh, hold on to it. Holy struggling.
Really is, and it does start to show when you do get out of your rhythm around this place. It does hurt. This is a track which you lose not tenths, you lose, you don't lose hundreds of thousands, you lose tenths, and then you can lose seconds through some of these corners if you're not too careful. There is the gap between first and second. It's 9.4 seconds when they last crossed the line, and Jorge Martinez here knows that he's very much in a position where he will not be able to catch with 8 laps to go unless there's a mistake from Oliveira, the driver in front, former pro stripe Diogo Oliveira. Martinez knows that he is pretty much consolidating here in this race, and he is going to try and score as many points as he can. So we will keep an eye out on these battles heading towards the end of this race.
The other thing we need to keep an eye on is Kent Nielsen, and that gap between he and Ronaldo Augusto, as Martinez gains 3 tenths, just over 3 tenths of a second on Oliveira on that lap. Of course, that's not enough in this race as it is at the moment. There's Kent Nielsen, that lap there done a 23.7. It's behind, now within the same camera shot, Ronaldo Augusto, not too far away. Although in saying that, Kent Nielsen, if he could finish with the top 5, considering he started 15th on medium tyres, I think he'd be very, very happy with that. Gaining 10 spots just by running the ultimate strategy and no stop. Very, very good run for Kent Nielsen.
It looks likely when you consider it's a 10-second gap from Augusto to Parker at this point in time. Kent Nielsen losing 1.3 seconds on that last lap, barring an incident with Ronaldo Augusto, who has had a penchant for retirement over the last 2 seasons. That might be something worth to keep in mind at this point here in this race. It's been a very interesting one, as will be, mind you, the battle for 12th and 13th position. Keep an eye on this one. Remember, Steve Codner was one of the latest to come in for a stop as we get a Virtual Racing School replay here. Massive shout out to the Virtual Racing School replay on the replays for this one. That is your race leader running into troubles and dropping a couple seconds.
Yeah, it's interesting that he did a 24.0 on that last lap. While he's done that, the driver that he's worried about coming up behind just set the fastest lap of the race. So this isn't done yet. This isn't done. We thought it might have been, but it's not.
Relies on mistakes still though from Oliveira.
Does.
Nerves will be definitely going on here. Hasn't had a win in a little while in the iRacing Grand Prix Series and would definitely want one. Codner versus Mata though continues on then. They were 21 and 20 on iRacing respectively as they come into this race, but as they pass the national layout there, or the junior layout as it's sometimes called there on the right hand side, they now go onto this backstretch and now into the Parabolica. That's just how quick they run on this circuit, and it has one of the highest average top speeds anywhere in the world for racetracks, so always keep that in mind when it goes through, and that's in terms of road course. Onto the front stretch, Codner with the DRS, but very crucially then is lifting out of it very, very early. from 340 to 317. I think he's used a lot of fuel in the early stages. I think he might be fuel saving.
Yeah, well, that's something that we don't normally consider in this series because we know that there's no fuel stops. And it's usually not too much of an issue, but at some tracks when you've got... Whoa! Beta just hit the grass. Not going to pull it up. You will lose that spot. That was huge from Anish Beta.
That's how easily it can go wrong. Virtual Racing School replay then up on screen. And a lack of concentration there, heading just to the braking zone. It looked to me as he was going through this section. Now you have a little watch here. Just keeps his eye off the ball, trying to test something out, it seemed. And then suddenly he's in the grass and trying to slow it down. That is not the place you want to be, trying to go and make something happen. And that is just switching off.
Yeah, that's just a lapse of concentration, 100%. Nothing else it could be at that point. So, strange little moment. But talking about fuel, we don't normally see anyone worry too much about fuel because there's usually enough to make it all the way. But around this track, you're at 100% throttle so much of the lap, the most out of any track in iRacing, or road track again. So to not look at your fuel burn is probably a bad thing to do at this track because you are so heavy on that throttle. You need to make sure that you've got enough to get yourself the whole way through the race with no refueling in these cars. This is Ronaldo Augusto going to get this move done rather easy. No surprise. 10 lap old softs versus 30 lap old mediums. Relatively easy move, but they got that lap traffic again. That's
Milanovici again.
Yeah, it's going to make it a little bit easier this time.
Yeah, I'd certainly think so. You spend 80% of the time around this lap on the throttle pedal at full throttle, probably about 2/3 of the lap. But really, for Ronaldo Augusto, a comfortable move then on Kent Nielsen, moves himself up into a very deserved 4th place here in this one as a driver who has very quietly done well. Nielsen on the no stop. There is no requirement in the iRacing Grand Prix Series to make a pit stop here in these 2/3 of a official Formula 1 distance. This is normally what you would call a very important point of the season. On top of that, your race leader is Diogo Oliveira, as we have ourselves 4 laps to go, now 3 laps to go, coming over the line, a 22.3, and it looks like he has, I would say, settled the jitters at this moment in time. He's just got to bring it home.
Exactly right. Marquez is making inroads, but needs another 30 laps at the current pace to be able to close that gap in. So he's hoping that Oliveira makes another mistake that's a little bit bigger than the one he made before. Oliveira would have used that as a little bit of a wake-up moment to probably not make any more mistakes. So Oliveira will probably be, in a bizarre way, thankful that he made such a small mistake, because if he hadn't, he may have found that it could have cost him a lot more time when he did make that mistake, if he did make a mistake. So that mistake he did make hasn't cost him too much in the end, thankfully for him.
Yeah, keeping an eye on Kent Nielsen, he says, please don't pass me your lap traffic. So really saying to Milanovici, please don't get anywhere near me. I still want to hold on to my top 5 in this race, when you consider that Darren Parker is not a million miles away by comparison. You can see that gap, which was about 8 seconds. It's now down to 7 seconds exactly. So Parker absolutely flying. Kent Nielsen, that last lap, at 24.8. So that's 2 seconds a lap we're seeing, but it might just be a case of running out of time.
Yeah, I think there's probably not enough time left in the race, but you never know with these things, and getting held up with that car could be enough. What is it, 7 seconds, 2 laps to go, I think. Kent Nielsen will be okay, but depends on how much that cliff does fall off on that tyre. But the biggest gap between them, 2 seconds on lap 32. That lap just there, another 1.6 seconds. So there's not enough inroads at this stage for Darren Parker to get there. But there's one little run off the circuit for Kent Nielsen. That could be enough.
certainly could. Gap for the race lead is down under 6 seconds, and a lot of traffic then for Diogo Oliveira to navigate by. Has dispatched of Jan Stratinsky and Anthony Cat, and now just as Tamas Shane in front. Jay, it has been a brilliant race from Oliveira, from lights to flag.
Definitely has. He just did a good job getting away. I mean, he just slotted him behind Matt Wood, and then Matt Wood made that huge, costly error at the wrong spot on the wrong lap. If he had done that on lap 2, it probably wouldn't have cost him anywhere near as much ground, but the fact he made that error on lap 1 enough to have cost him so much time and position. White flag waves, final lap of the race. Oliveira gets past Tamashane, leaves 13 cars on the lead lap. Got a 5.5 second advantage to Marquez behind, who is not going to be close enough with 3 lap cars in between them as well.
I wholeheartedly agree. In this scenario, it's going to be very tough unless there is a mistake from Oliveira on this final lap for this race to go in any other direction. It's been an important race for a number of reasons. There is Kent Nielsen. It'll be a long look behind. They can just see the back of shot there. That is the car chasing of Darren Parker, but he's only 5 seconds back. That's not going to be enough unless, again, there is a moment between now and the end of this race. There is John Pat Kelly, your biggest mover and shaker in the field, is there in 9th position and trying to chase down Christophe Mont. 1.2 seconds the gap, and remember, with quote-unquote damage, that's always going to be tough to chase. But to Oliveira we must go, because he's already on that back stretch. It's such a quick lap here. It's been such a quick race, but it has been such a dominant drive. Welcome back to form, the former pro stripe. Diogo Oliveira takes the flag here at Monza. Marquez, crucially, will take some big championship gains in 2nd position, and Adam Gleeson will take a podium place then in 3rd, and that will definitely come up clutch towards the back end of this season. What a wonderful race we've had here, Jay, and crucially, some racing still isn't quite over.
How good, though, from Diogo Oliveira. Fastest lap of the race on the last lap. We love seeing that on the last lap. Kent Nielsen, what a drive as well. Finishes 5th with that alternate strategy. Great job from him. John Pat Kelly probably not close enough to Christophe Mont, but I tell you what, this battle isn't done here for 11th and 10th position. Jinsei York is not safe in that 10th position. Kleber Toffoli might be just too far back, but one little brake lock up for Sayuk. May mean that he's in trouble? No, he's okay. Gonna hold on.
Yeah, it's a shortish run to the start-finish line as they cross the stripe now. That's that. So positions ultimately end up staying as they were between them. But there is your winner on screen, Diogo Oliveira, who is making sure he is mopping up the safety rating as he goes around the circuit. So confirmation of result then. Diogo Oliveira picks up the W and did so in 48 minutes and 46 seconds. He wins by a margin of 6.1 in the end over Jorge Marquez, who extends his championship lead in 2nd position. 3rd would go to Adam Gleeson in the number 3 machine. He found himself trying to undercut Marquez in the end to no avail, with Reynaldo Augusto in 4th position. Kent Nielsen will round out the top 5, making the no-stop strategy work just as he did last season, with Darren Parker in 6th, Matt Wood in 7th position. A tough day at the office for Matt. Christophe Mont then will take 8th, ahead of John Pat Kelly in 9th place, and Jinsei Yuk then rounding out the top 10 on a defensive drive today. Kleber Toffoli, Steve Codner and Anish Mehta were the last finishers on the leading lap then in 13th position overall for Anish, with Tamas Shane struggling with rear wing damage all race long. The first of the drivers a lap down. That included Jan Stratinsky, Jonathan Oshelin, Valentin Milanovici and Anton Skirichenko, along with Morgan Sohm, who we saw have that incident earlier on. 2 laps down in the end for Anthony Cat. It's a race that he would desperately wish that he could get back, along with Carlos Catao. And then the 4 retirements from this race: Klaus Siemetz in the 13, Duncan Lee in the 23, Adam Webb we saw early on, as well as Chris Robinson with that very dramatic accident at the 2nd of the Lesmo corners. But crucially, we head from one place, which is a temple of speed, to arguably the fastest racetrack in the world. It is Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We're heading to the road course then for this one just 1 week from now, here with us on SimSpeed TV. If you haven't had the chance already, you can like, share, and subscribe to us for that. But Jay, Indy, fabled, hallowed circuit.
One of the greatest racetracks in the world. The road course probably not as popular as others out there, but it still provides some really, really interesting racing. Very, very interesting to see how the strategy plays out. And it also is quite an abrasive surface too, so tyre life, tyre conservation. Shouldn't really talk about tyres at Indy, should we? In a F1 style car, but tyre life is going to be very, very crucial at that track as well. Looking forward to it. Can't wait to get to the Brickyard.
Yeah, we're not going to say anything about that, especially as iRacing has a partnership with Michelin. We are definitely saying nothing about what happened in 2005.
It's gone.
Anyway, yeah, it's gone. Completely gone. Anyway, a massive thanks has to go to those who get it done for us. Of course, first and foremost, to the Virtual Racing School, sponsors of our replays this year at SimSpeed TV. They do a whole heap of amounts of effort, and all of their driver coaching certainly helps out towards the end. From the crew here that's been getting it done, Jay Kennedy, double duties, cameras and commentary, myself, Jake Sperry. It was a wonderful race for Diogo Oliveira, back to the top and with a level of pace which could not be matched here today. Marquez tried, but he wasn't quite close enough, and it will be a little bit more disgruntlement for Matt Wood in 7th position here today. He goes to a track next week which he really doesn't like in the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So he knows that he's got a lot to put down on the table if he is to try and get something working. It is drop round season coming up as well. So now we're going to start seeing the minutiae of points come into play. We'll see you, of course, on the convergence of 16th Street and Georgetown in just 1 week from now. Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We're back home again very soon.
Are you new to sim racing, or maybe a veteran struggling to reach the next level? Have you ever wondered how the aliens reach impressive lap times that seem impossible to achieve? If so, you're not alone. Most drivers reach a certain level and get stuck. But getting faster on track is easier than you think. VRS coaches are some of the best sim racers in the world, and offer one-on-one driver skills training at affordable rates to help new drivers learn the basics and help experienced drivers break through to the next level. Are you ready to get faster and get off the iRating roller coaster? If so, VRS one-on-one personal training is for you. If you've invested in your equipment, it might be time to invest in yourself. Just go to virtualracingschool.com and sign up for a 30, 60 or 90-minute session with one of our world-class coaches, and you'll learn exactly what to do for faster lap times and more podiums.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got rid of the outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God! Oh, big crash! Oh my goodness! Half the field's gonna get rolled.
It's very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, here we go. Oh, no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh, my God.
God, what?